Alright, so it is April 24th, 2018. It's noon. Yeah, exactly noon. So I made a video last night and I'm making a video today. So it's funny because well, first of all, there's always like anxiety to talk about it. So if I don't do a video for a while, I kind of like talk about random stuff to kind of get warmed up to gather my thoughts, because I really don't think about too much before I make these videos. I do kind of think of what I want to talk about, but lately I haven't been able to. Like, they're starting to get jumbled. Because the main ones are the ones that I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, so I kind of watched the videos after too, and it's like, oh man, like one of them had some nose hair coming out, and the dandruff, and the funny looking, and then the double chin. So last night I was like, man, got a double chin. So I do think about that, but I don't. And I post them anyways, so hope it's alright for you guys. I know we got weird haircuts going on. So I got this thing that what do you call that? Like my own haircut thing. So I kind of went short. So I don't know, a little self-conscious to say that, but at the same time, it is what it is. So thank you guys for being part of my world, and hopefully I get to be part of your world and enjoy this life while we're here. So yeah, so really I'm just saying this stuff so that things get cleared up. I know I could not say stuff, but I just listened to this one guy, that guy I was talking about, psychologist dude. He was saying the difference between wise and knowledge, wisdom and knowledge, or being wise and being knowledgeable. They're very different. They're totally different. And I was like, you know what? That's so true. And I'm like, I'm gaining all this knowledge, but it's like trying to turn it into wisdom. But so I've learned some wisdom, but I got natural wisdom. But at the same time, that's where probably my weakest, it's weaker than my knowledge, because wisdom, I think, has to do with other people. Like, I'm okay with how to process my own stuff, and eat right or whatever. Like, I know it. Wisdom, I guess that's knowledge, but using it is wisdom. And so yeah, so making these videos, I don't know if they're wise, but I'm kind of following my instinct, so, or my pride. It could be one or the other. But I did want to just say that, so that you guys, people that are watching this thing, are kind of know where I'm coming from, and know that I'm not like overthinking these. Well, I've been overthinking, period. But sharing all this information is not something that I would like to do. It's just it's a weird place, man. Like, I don't know, like, if everybody has to, like, I know everybody has their own hardships and their own, like, crazy stuff happen in their life. So it's kind of just weird to have my stuff public. And I know a lot of, like, celebrities and people like that or whatever, like, they kind of don't say nothing, or they'll have a public statement and then they'll leave it there. It's probably smart. There's probably some wisdom there. But I don't know. It's weird, you know. It's weird. Humans are weird. Groups of humans are weird, and I'm one of them. I'm part of it. So, but what I'm trying to say is that hope these help. Hope these help, and hope these help me, and hope they help you, and I hope they help future people. You know, I like watching videos on Bob Basquiat and him talking, even though it's usually like him conversating with somebody else, or you know, so it's more of the you see the interaction between him and somebody else. So it's not just, it's him reacting to somebody else. It's not just him making a video about him talking into the video camera. But a lot of people do this like nowadays, and we have our phones and social media, so it's not abnormal at this time. So I wanted to talk about some kind of serious stuff, so kind of just leaving that as a I've been building up to some of this, so that's my tattoo. I know you can't quite see it, but it has some Aztec stuff. It's a huelga eagle. Some Diego de Vera son. It's like the first one I got, and I fixed it up and then added on to it. But the last parts, that's kind of look like dragons, but I think to me they were more like just like the hieroglyphic stuff. And it says La Raza on the bottom of the huelga eagle. And it has a Spanish guy and an Aztec guy fighting in the middle of it. That's a Diego de Vera. So, what I wanted to talk about was the overall, it's kind of people based, so let's go through it. So, born in Gilroy, raised in San Martin when I was 3, and then moved to Morgan Hill, or moved to Oroville when I was 13. Lived here till I was 18. Moved to Montana, and then Alaska. Montana for a few months, like maybe 2 months, maybe 1 month. And then, it couldn't have been more than 1 month. And then maybe like 3 weeks or something. It was kind of felt like a long time, but it was. And then we went to Alaska for like a couple months. I got injured, and then back to Oroville, and then lived in Oroville till I was 27. Oh no. Then in Oroville, then somewhere I went to the Bay Area with a couple of my uncles for like a year, maybe half a year. It was like a few months. It was at least 3 months to 6 months. I don't think it was a year. Just went there to work. And that was right before I was 27. So that could have been, or 26, 25, 26. I was right there. And then moved back to Cohasset. Moved to Cohasset. Oh no, wait. Hold on a second. So, Oroville and Bear Creek when I was 21, 22. And then 22, 23, I was Paradise and... Oh no, wait. Where the hell was I? Oh yeah. I was going to school and I was living on some friends' couches here and there. The band in Oroville, and then the one in Paradise. But I had a place in Bear Creek. So I was living in Bear Creek, really, so that was for a year or so. A couple of years, I don't know how long we were in Bear Creek. So 23, 24, 25, 24, 25-ish. And then lived in, then went to the Bay Area, or went to, I don't know, where was that, Antioch? Around 25, worked. Came back to Oroville, to Cohasset. And then in Cohasset, these are all like places in Butte County, like the mountains and stuff, so like by Chico or Oroville, so it's all a similar place. And then I went to art school, and so I went to San Francisco and Concord, I don't know where the hell, Concord-ish area, and did that for a year, and then went back to Oroville, and for a year, worked at Voice. Then left again a year after that, back to Daly City, which is right by San Francisco, for a year. So it's probably like 28, 29. And then moved back to Chico. Moved to Chico for till I was like 30 something, 35, 36, 37. I don't know. I was there for the Chico for a while. And then oh yeah, and so then the story starts. Okay, so here I am in Chico. Now I'm in Chico, and what had happened is, I had a kid. So through all those traveling to San Francisco and all that stuff like that, I was not really raising him well. So when I left school, I was like, I had a prayer that for God to let me know what's going on. So, and then I left again because I had this girlfriend before I went to San Francisco this summer. I had met her a couple years before that, and then we ended up getting together. And then when I was working with my uncles, I came back to visit, and she was working at this video store in her small town, and I was like, yo, what's up? And she feeling cool. And so she had a boyfriend at the time, and she knew I liked her before that, so when she finally kind of was like, yeah, you come here and say hi to me or whatever, I did. And then I don't know, guys do this, I guess, I don't know, you have some, so the dude was like, she was like, you're just a friend, and I was like, hey, I knew you before. So she ended up, anyway, I don't know what the part, that's not really important. So she ended up with me, and about a year after that or something, I don't know, we ended up hanging out there, and man, it's hot, it's starting to get warm out here. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I had a relationship, and then so when I was kind of following that relationship, and I put a lot of time and effort into that relationship, and it was like one of those, it was my first relationship that I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this, and I'm gonna try to be a good guy and try to like be the best guy I could be, and love this person, love this girl, and marry her, have kids with her, have a family and stuff. So we were, she was kind of okay with that. She was like, all right. So, but the relationship was kind of like, long distance and stuff like that too. So there was like a couple when I went to, we met during the summer, and then I went to art school. So it was like all these girls at art school were like, yo, yo, yo. Seriously, like all of them, like, and so I was trying to be good. I was like, and I was being good. Like, it was crazy. Like, all best as I could be. There was a lot of temptation, a lot of artists, women, beautiful women that were artists. It was, you know, it's different. I think it was different. It's different when everybody goes and travels from other places around the world, and they all congregate somewhere, and they're all studying the same stuff and competing with each other and trying to like learn from each other and see each other every day. So it's kind of, and you know, everybody's strangers. So it's like, so it had that camaraderie with the people there. So it was weird to be like, okay, I wanted to date this girl forever, and so I finally did. And then, you know, I'm gonna try to be the best I can be. And through long distance relationships, you could be your best self. You could be like, hey, you know, and see the best in somebody. So it was that. And then, anyway, so when I left school, I took an offer to work with voice with this guy named Dan Seward. He was from Paradise, and his mom was running the school program. It was like a youth program or something, I don't know. They got funding. It was like a nonprofit from a nonprofit. Like, I don't know if they worked with troubled youth or what, but it was kind of like that. And it came from continuation school. So, and when I went to art school, like, it's kind of weird as an artist. Like, they kind of always offer like jobs, like help teaching kids art, right? Youth art or whatever, after school programs or whatever. So it's kind of, when you go to college and stuff, that's one of the jobs that they offer you. Probably the main job that they offer artists. I don't know if they just can't fit us nowhere else. We don't. I guess it's more of an entertainment genre, or, you know. But, you know, it's like, people still think art is for kids, I guess. I don't know. Which I totally disagree with. So it was almost like a glorified babysitter. So I had to do that for here and there to make money. So working with voice was kind of like that. But it was kind of like the staff and everyone was like, so I did a mural at the Boys and Girls Club before that. And before that, let's see, what else did I do? I don't know. I just went to Butte College forever, and I did TV show, and like worked at the TV station, and before that I worked, so I had these odd jobs here and there, but some of them were really cool. So I don't think I worked for pay with youth before that. So when I did the mural, they offered it. Some teacher told me about it. So when I went and did the mural, I had a second painting teacher. She was new, Simone Sinat, and it was her first semester, and I was there, and the other teacher that he had was like my painting teacher for a lot of years, and so I had her for one semester, and she told me about a mural in Boys and Girls Club, because they were supposed to do a mural at the college. They offered me, like, one of my last years when I met that girlfriend that I had met. I was playing music with a friend of mine. I was kind of just there to get financial aid and to pay my rent or whatever, and still making music and art. I was finishing up this life-size sculpture and doing the video, working at that video TV station, Butte. It was cool. It was really cool. Like, one of probably the best jobs I had as far as like experience, doing something, experiencing something that I liked. So, and the guy that I worked for, Todd, was cool. He was kind of tough on me, but he was cool, as far as you know, just being real with me as far as like life experience. And the only reason I got that job was because Mark Hall recommended me, because that's when I had broken up with Sarah, and so I was there all the time for like a whole year. So after a year of me always being there, he was just like, help this Mexican kid out. So they gave me a job, and I did good. I did really good at the job till the end. I missed it. I totally was going through some shit with, I don't know, with my family, and I just didn't go to work one day, or I was late, and you can't be late because somebody has to program the TV shows. And so he yelled at me, and I was like, whatever, he's like, no, you shouldn't even be here, or, can't believe you did that. I had to cover for all these hours, and I was just like, and I was just going through some shit. I don't know what I was going through, probably Sarah's stuff, and or my mom's stuff. It's kind of weird, I think about it now, listening to psychology people, and I'm like looking at the women in my life, and I'm just thinking like, damn, that's like, I gotta work through some of that. It's not just women, just my parents, my family, and like, it's like gotta clear that up, because like that family stuff, like, can carry on some traits that you don't want, or some how to deal with stuff. So living with my mom these last 4 months, I've really like, it's kind of like a circus show, but it's still like, it's been good. Like, I love my mom, love my family, but there's like some I don't know, just some stuff that always instilled. Anyway, I'm still working through it. So anyway, so so those are the jobs. And then, so when I started working with Voice, she went to San Francisco, and so I was working with Seward and the group, and it was just kind of mostly teenagers and musicians and artists and the school system. So I was like talking to the teachers and the principals, and so it was cool. I kind of just fit in because I knew I've always been part of the school systems. So, going to college forever, I was into like student government and all that stuff, like doing community art projects and stuff. So I was like totally Mr. Art community guy. So working with Voice was just part of that, and but it was different because these guys, the people that I worked with, were artists as well. And Dan Seward was just like some crazy, like, as crazy as I am, but a white dude. But he was like, it was kind of like, he was like, yeah, I got trouble here and there, and kind of had like a nice home. His mom had a nice house and everything, and her husband was like a paraplegic guy that was a professor in like geography or something, and he was a nice guy, Scott. And she was like older lady, but she was a very good looking lady, like very well spoken and pretty real, like, but you can tell she was a good looking lady. Not to say that nothing like that. But she, everyone liked her. She was really nice, really genuine. So all us young adults were. She was a mentor to everybody. So that was his mom. But he was like, oh yeah, I'm an arts guy, and so he went to art school too and everything, to the art academy in San Francisco, and he had all these group of buddies that were like richer than him. So he was saying, yeah, I used to stay on their couch and like just be kind of like even look like the dude. What's that dude from American Pie? The funny looking dude. So anyway, but he's kind of a partier, but he was our leader, so it was pretty trippy, like working for him. Compared to him, I was kind of straight edge, but he pulled out a little bit of ghetto out of me, so I was kind of like, yeah, we're cool. So at that time, I was still raising my son. I had left art school. Finally decided to work with him, and so it was kind of this group that he put together. Everything was kind of his. So, but he was putting me as the number one guy. Like, hey, you're my number one guy. And but he was kind of like, hey, help me run the show. And I was like, all right. So I did. And then there was kind of like some pullback where he was like, well, you could design this and you could design that. And then I would do it, and then he'd be like, oh, kind of trying to guide me through the programs, or doing the actual work. As far as what he was good at was graphic design, so designing the book, ended up being like some differences there, because I was like, hey, and some of the feedback I got from the youth was like that they liked the crazy style, because I was into comic books and all that stuff like that, so I wasn't into like making things look like perfect and square and like a normal magazine. I wanted, if it's art and poetry, it's like, and I had done one of those books before. Emancipation was something that when I first met him at Butte College, I'd pull all the artists together, and we had made an art book. I had made an art book, putting all these guys' work together and doing interviews with teachers and everything. So it was kind of like almost like that, and it was even black and white, but it wasn't even as cool. And then I look back on the two books that I made, and they were like way too edgy, and I was like, okay, like now I see why people thought I was crazy. But I was putting other artists' stuff in there, and that's kind of the beauty and the danger of this art stuff is like, you're letting other people talk, but not believing in, at the time in my young days, not believing in censorship. Like, I would let things in there that maybe half the time without reading it or looking at it too much, just believing the artist or the writer did something good. Kind of just letting people think for themselves, like having a platform where, because I wanted that. I wanted to have freedom of expression, and maybe it was edgy, but so I was going that way, where see how edgy, not super edgy, but edgy enough where, if somebody was gay, like this one girl was gay, and I put her work in there, and there was this one teacher that, not to say that she was like her name was Rosa, and he actually knew her, I don't know, but her work was kind of edgy, not really, but at the time, but her group and friends and all that stuff, they were trying to get the edginess of their world. And then because we ended up doing put an art show together with all those guys. That's where I met Steven. Anyway, I forget his last name, damn it. but we were ended up being good friends and some drama. So I'm kind of just laying down this foundation. So, what was I saying? So Voice was a magazine. Okay, so that happened in Paradise. Worked there for a year, then moved to Daly City, and then blah blah blah. So with that girl, so I was there for a year. A friend of mine from the art school, he ended up being, she needed some new roommates, so I was like, oh, I know this dude that he's looking for a place out of his parents' house, so I asked him, and he was like, yeah. So he ended up moving in, and she had a girl roommate that was her friend, some Ines. He was like a Puerto Rican, or I don't know what she was. Not Puerto Rican, I don't know. But one of the countries below Mexico. It was, I don't know which one. The Incas, I don't know. Peruvian. But she was cool, but we kind of clashed. And then, so I was just clashing with everybody. I was just, man, I don't know. I look back on my life, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I could see why. And I look at these videos and I'm like, man. So, I apologize for all that. So, that's where the wisdom comes in. It's like, man, do you talk or do you not talk? So I'm gonna do better as I go on. But so yeah, so did that for a year, then moved back to and then so I was working at Marine World, and the job that the girlfriend had got me, where she was working too at this after school program in San Francisco. And what was interesting with that, so when I worked with this one dude, Ricardo, the guy that I went to school with, he had got me a job at like a tutor. So when I was going to art school, like I ended up tutoring these two kids. One was like this black girl, African American, and she was like, I don't know, high school. So I got to see the high school a little bit. But what was interesting with that is like being a people person, or like having the personality where people talk to you about their life, so these kids, I'd work with them and they'd have these crazy lives. Like, I had a crazy life myself, like growing up, but like theirs was a city life. Like, I had no idea what that was about. So I got to see the ghetto, like in San Francisco. It was crazy. It was like scary. It was like, dang, like, how do people live here? Like, it was crazy. So she was like living with her grandma, I guess, and her parents went to jail or prison or something. I don't know what happened exactly, I forget. But we would meet up at like restaurants or stores or whatever, and do her homework. And then she would tell me about her life, and I was like, man. So, but she was a nice person, and like insecure because she didn't know how to, like, she didn't know wanted to do her math, and like it was like weird, those kids that are in high school that can't read. It was kind of like that. It was like, wow, you went through school for all this long and you can't do math. So it's kind of like, how do you teach somebody that doesn't have that foundation, that never got taught? It's not really a problem of them comprehending the schoolwork. It's more about learning how to concentrate or learning how to deal with your normal life. Like having a life where you got to worry about what you're going to eat more than if you do your homework or go to school. And I know that world a little bit, but it was like more prevalent in the city where you don't have family, that you don't have no, you're like floating around. So I felt bad. I tried my best to give her good advice. So that was like a crazy experience, but kind of short-lived. It was only for a few months, I forget. And it was kind of just some money. And then there was this other little kid, and he was like, a rich kid, like his grandma. And I met him through this one Mexican guy. He was like a little older than me, but he was kind of like, Chicano, kind of like from the city, kind of hard life, and and but got educated and got his stuff going. So they kind of have similar, like, kind of tough exterior, but they're also educated. So he was like, hey, I do this and help these people here and there, but this kid is kind of a trouble kid, and it's kind of his grandma babies. So I helped out with this kid for here and there. It was like he was talking about getting bullied in school, and I was like, well, this is how you punch, and he's like, oh, I don't want to learn how to punch. So it was kind of like, whoa, like, I'm just like trying to help you out, like I'm just like the stranger that is just getting paid to tutor you, but you got real problems, like disciplinary problems. And so it was kind of like weird. It was like, okay, I don't know how to help you guys, and I'll try to help you with your homework, but the kids didn't want to do their homework, because that's the whole problem. So that was it. So that was like my first experience with like doing working with youth or whatever in that capacity through the school system. So that was like just a part-time job, like a couple hours here and there, like an hour here and there. Like, so that wasn't nothing but kind of just tutoring here. And then so the other life of that world of that time was more about the school and people in the school and the girlfriend back home, and trying to raise my kid, because I was a father at the time too. So it was like, so all this stuff was going on. So that was really, just seeing it though was kind of weird. Being part of people's lives, it's like, well, and then working in voice was different, because these kids were from Paradise, and they were like, so one of the schools like was Fairview, or not Fairview, it was like this other continuation school. And so we'd go to the schools and like talk to the youth, to the kids and the teacher, and we'd do presentations in the class and like say, hey, this is what voice is about, and we want you to draw, and we want your poetry. So that would be part of my job, and so I was a Mexican guy, so it was kind of like, and I just went to art school, and I was trying to be an artist, and I was a father, and all this stuff, and I was still with this girlfriend from a long distance relationship, and so been in rock and roll bands and all this stuff. So I was like still trying to do my thing, but I was doing, it was also important to work with youth to try to help them get through some roadblocks that I had to go through. So working with young artists was like cool with me, because I was like, hey, and I was still young, so it was really just about go to art school, go to school, go to college. Like, that was the best advice. And be creative, try to cultivate your own imagination and your own style. So I had stuff to say, so I wasn't there just for the paycheck. I was which I kind of was there for just the paycheck, but helping out young artists was also cool with me. So I was like, all right, the job is cool. I'm not getting paid enough. It's part-time wages. I'm getting paid like minimum wage for part-time. So I really was driving way too much at voice, and putting way too much time and effort. But they ended up being friends. Like, the coworkers ended up being friends, and they had their group, and we all kind of were around around Seward, you know, like everyone was connected through Seward. So it was his show. So I was kind of still, you know, like learning about life and jobs and money, had my own agendas going on. So I was like, okay, I'm just working with you, but I really gonna do my own thing. Like, you know, I got my own, like I was working on my comic books every chance I got. And he didn't like that because he was like, hey, you know, you can do that, but you gotta do this stuff. And I was like, yeah, well, I did it already. And so it was kind of like, he knew I was gonna leave, and he didn't want that. He wanted to keep me working for him and be part of his thing. And I was like, I got my own thing going on. So that was happening. And so when I went to Daly City and started not being in school, not working at a normal job, like I started freelancing and got a computer and everything. So everything was going. And because before that I didn't have no computer, I just used the ones at the schools. So for the first time I actually had a computer and a scanner and stuff like that. So, you know, learning about the internet. And so while I was living in Daly City, I was doing freelance stuff here and there, computer work, doing my comic books, and what was it? And oh yeah, so this after school program that she got me in was this other one in San Francisco, and it was kind of like middle school kids, and I was teaching from this award-winning art teacher she had, and after so they put together an after-school program, and there was like 5 of us or 7 of us that were like 2 different programs, and I was the artist guy. So, and my girlfriend was there, so it was kind of, and there was all these other dudes that were like, yo. So this one girl was telling me like, oh hey, you know, they're getting too friendly, and there was this other guy, you know, I'm pretty sure that. So I came in later there. She was already working there, so there was already dudes like trying to, and I was pretty confident. I didn't really trip on it at the time, but through the time I kind of started noticing. I was like, the hell? So I don't know. So there was some issues there through that year. That's probably why she wanted to move, really. So, but while the job, I was continuing working with you, so it was kind of like I was already used to working with young artists. So I tried to help them. It was different because it was a mixture of brown and white kids. So they didn't even want to be there. Like even through voice, I was just like, it was different because they were there because they chose to be there. And you know, you're just getting work from them and stuff like that. So it wasn't like, and they were like teenagers. They were like already like they're in their own rock bands and doing their own thing. And so it wasn't. These guys were like kind of like, you know, just youngsters in school, in this weird school where there was rich kids and poor kids. So it was an experimental school where they would pull in poor kids from around the city to come to this rich people's school. And so they had uniforms and everything. So it was like these rich kids that were like, these rich white kids that were having issues with these poor brown kids that were like trying to bully them and stuff like that. So they were learning about each other, and they had, so that's kind of just what I started seeing, and I was like, wow, that's, you know, pretty trippy. So, because, you know, they tell me stories, like, oh, you know, this happened and this happened, and so I was just listening to the group, and because most of the time was just like, they didn't even want to draw. They're like some of them want to draw, especially like the rich white kids were like there to draw, you know, because they had a choice to be there or not. The other kids were just there, I don't know, they had other things going on, you know, they weren't even drawers, they just had to be there. So they were just like, yeah. So some of them would cause trouble during the class, so I had to learn about that, like, oh man, like the trouble kid trying to be funny or whatever, you know, arguing with the other kid. So most of the time was just trying to get people to concentrate on drawing and not fight with just yelling at each other and talk about other stuff. So it was kind of mostly halfway successful sometimes, because I would have to bring in my artwork and be like, yo, you know, this is what's going on here. And so they were like, whoa, you can really draw, that's amazing. Like, so they, try to emulate that. So that kind of worked. But when I try to get people to draw like shadows and like shading and realism, like, just look into something and draw it, like, or explain drawing, like most of them would lose interest, and they just want to see me draw. So they were, those kids. Most of the people I know are like that, or they just want to see me do magic, and they're not really interested in participating in it. But the ones that did want to participate were the ones actually that I was interested to help, and but the other kids were just like yelling and jumping around, and I had to like, so it was kind of like that experience. So that was at school, and the teacher ended up being really cool. So I think I was there for the whole year. But at the time, I ended up working at there was a whole girlfriend drama through the whole time, but most of the time was pretty cool with her. And then kind of, it was 50-50. And then but it was really good and really like tumultuous too. Like, I don't know, I was pretty jealous. She made me anyway. So that girlfriend stuff was going on. That was the first time I ever lived with her, and her with me, and the other people in the household didn't make it any better. It was, and then the coworker stuff, and she was going to school too, so it was like, anyway. So she was telling me what to do, and I was just like living her life. So I was kind of felt just like living other people's lives. So so I started working at Marine World, and Marine World was cool because I was getting paid money, like the money I was getting paid at the after school program, and the part-time jobs or the freelance work on the internet was like, did a comic book for some dude, and like $5 a page. It was really bad, but didn't even like the comic. It was about some angel dude that, it was just weird. I shouldn't have did it, but I did it for the money because I needed to pay the rent. It was like $300.